All right, Rob. So the red light just went on. This is when most people freak out, get really nervous. How are you feeling? You all right over there? You okay? You're all right.
I'm
Okay, all
good.
right.
Yeah, we're great.
So what's not the first
Not my
one.
first
Awesome. That's
rodeo.
good to hear. Well, why don't you do my listeners a favor here? Tell us who you are and what your company is.
Yeah, so my name's Rob Connolly. I am a co-founder in a startup called Finlete, and we're a platform that's allowing fans to buy future earning contracts directly from very promising
Yeah, this is
athletes.
wild. Just so you guys know, I had a little bit of conversation with Rob. I was like, this is one of the most unique things I've seen in the Reg CF space. I think it's just really innovative. It's really
Yeah.
unique. Tell us kind of how this kind of works. What's the background of this? Just talk to me like nobody knows what you're talking
Yeah.
about right now.
Yeah. So okay. So
Yeah.
I'll take you from the start. So about 2.5 years ago, my co-founder and I were working on a platform. We were building an app
Okay.
called Meetle, which was a way you could meet your favorite athlete. And we were trying to get athletes like Fernando Tatis and all these big athletes to join our platform so fans could pay to meet them. And we came across this article that, Fernando Tatis Jr. was going to have to pay millions of dollars to this private hedge fund after he signed a $341
Hmm.
million contract. It was reported that it was like $22 million. And we were
Yeah.
like, what? Like,
Yeah. That's
what is
wild.
this all about? And we started doing this research and like this deep dive into what this is, like what this industry was. And what we found was there is one hedge fund that was signing hundreds of minor league baseball players to these future earning contracts. And we couldn't figure out why. Like, baseball players make millions of dollars. Like,
Right.
why would they do this? And then we learned a lot that they don't actually make that much money. And a lot of them are from the
Hmm.
Dominican Republic, Haiti, Panama, countries where they actually really are
Yeah.
like need help, like financial help. And we wanted to find a way that we could actually let fans participate in these
Hmm.
investments, and kind of say, hey, there's another option outside of a hedge fund. And so we spent the next year and a half, a year and 7 months, working with our legal team and raising capital. And we finally got, the green light, and we built Finlete, and we launched with our first athlete
Wow.
a week and a
Yeah,
half
it's
ago.
really, really great. And by the way, I'll put links and all this. We'll talk about this a little bit later. But I mean, the site looks great. Everything
Yeah.
looks really professional. It was a good experience on my end as I kind of dove through and just kind of dove into your world. Talk to
Mm.
us about who is this kind of first athlete? Like, how did you find him? Where did he come
Yeah.
from? Like, how do you start to kind of scout who you're looking for?
I literally went to the Dominican Republic with no contacts. Like, I'm like, I have to figure out if this is real. Like, is
Yeah.
this actually happening? So I went to the Dominican Republic, not knowing anybody. Kind of did some research, went to a couple of baseball camps, and I connected with this guy who actually lives in Phoenix. His name's JC, and he was scouting a couple players. He was just a really great contact. And then he was, sending us, some players that he heard were, people were chattering about
Mm,
inside the Dominican. And one of those players was
mm,
Echedry Vargas. And we started doing research on Echedry, and we found out that he signed for $10,000. So in the baseball world, that's like the lowest possible signing bonus you can get from a team as a
all right.
international signee. And he absolutely shattered what's called the DSL, the Dominican Summer
Mm,
League, his first year as a 16-year-old. He was like the All-Star MVP, got all these accolades. He performed better than players that
wow.
signed for millions of dollars. So it was amazing. So then the Rangers challenged him the next year at the Complex League, which is even harder, and he
Hmm.
did even better his second year. For the baseball nerds out there, he had a WRC plus of 131,
Wow.
which is like insane, 2 years in a row. So here's a kid who's one of the top prospects with the Rangers. Is getting tons of chatter about him. Teams. It was reported that multiple
Okay.
teams were trying to trade for him from the Athletic, and we were able to convince him, like, hey, we can help you. There's a different way than
Yeah.
going with the hedge fund. We can allow thousands of fans to participate in a future earning contract
Right.
funding opportunity, and you're going to gain fans. You're going to get fair market value
Hmm.
on your
Hmm.
future earning contract, and let's change the game together. Let's help other players out there know that there's other options than just working with
Sure,
one
sure.
private hedge fund.
Yeah, that is that's wild. That's wild. Now, do you see
Yeah.
this at all playing into the NIL for like college sports and stuff? Do you see it going that route, or is this more of a world of professionalism, like what you're working on right now with like the Texas Rangers or Major League Baseball and minor league baseball? Do you see this kind of moving into NIL at all?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's always, opportunities out there and different athletes that
Mhm.
are undervalued, right? And that's really what college
Yeah,
athletes are right now. Especially in football where there's so much revenue being generated, and these athletes aren't getting paid what we feel like is fair market value. We're able to come in and kind of help, connect the dots and create a platform where we can provide funding opportunities and generating thousands of
yeah.
super fans in these athletes and creating these really
Yeah,
unique
that's crazy.
opportunities.
So how do you see sort of growth for the platform itself? Is it something where it's very select?
Yeah,
Is it almost any young athlete that's in the minor league industry? We'll stay with baseball for right now because then you can get into basketball, football, and stuff. But like
yeah,
just in the baseball, is it something
yeah,
that you see like, man, a
yeah.
lot of people could get in on this, or it's a little bit more select than that? How do you see just kind of growth in this space?
Yeah, we think it could be huge. Like we think there's hundreds of athletes that are taking deals with our competitor,
Okay.
this private hedge fund, and we feel like we offer a better platform than what they can offer. I mean, there's a community involved with Finlete that's extremely valuable. So we see this really being great with baseball. The contracts are very they're all
Mm,
guaranteed. So it's also really nice for people considering doing an investment like this, knowing that there's a real chance of seeing a potential return on a lot of these athletes. I think one of the interesting stats, Jeff, is that we did some research back in
mhm.
2014, so 10 years ago, on the top 100 baseball
Yeah.
prospects of that year, and the average career earnings of one of those top 100 prospects are
Wow.
$50 million. That's the average. And 71% of those athletes would have given a positive rate of return should they have taken the same
Mm,
deal we gave
hmm.
Echedry. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting when you start looking at the numbers
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
funny, like, knowing what I know about sports, and I grew up in the whole sports world, and I played a lot, and, I always
Mhm.
think minor league baseball is, like, back of the bus, you've got small contracts, you know, maybe
Yeah,
you got up into that majors at one point, you had your time to shine for a month,
yeah,
and then you got brought back down, but it does yeah, I never thought about, like, this world of potentially social media now putting spotlights on athletes more,
yeah,
right? If
yeah,
Vargas basically
yeah,
creates a huge community online, he's got an even better opportunity, right? So just telling his story. So you've got a lot of these things are
yeah,
different than I guess I'm just outside Detroit, so the Toledo Mud Hens, farm team. When you're like, I don't know who this guy is. It's a whole other way to sort of
yeah.
participate in sports. It's really really fascinating. Where do you see kind of the maybe the pitfalls of it? Is it convincing players to participate in this? Like, where do you see kind of the hurdles in this?
Yeah, so I mean, I think right now, I think the biggest challenge for us is convincing the players that
Yeah,
fans are willing to do this because they're a little bit
sure.
hesitant because we're brand new. Like they're used to, getting a check today from this
Mm,
private hedge fund, and
right.
then they're off and running. With us, it's just a little bit more. We raise. As we raise,
Yeah.
they're getting paid out, and it's really showing the value. But that's all going to change. Like as we grow and we do more of these deals, which we're going to be
Hmm.
doing more quickly, it's going to give more
Yeah.
validation to the model, which I think is it's so much better for the athletes. It's not even close, because the valuations are better for the athletes, and it's the first time that they have a retail market where they can do these type of deals versus
Right.
a wholesale, which is with
Right.
a private hedge fund.
How what changes once, let's say, Vargas, he continues to grow and he gets a big major league contract. Where do you see this kind of going along with it? He goes up to a reg A, he goes up, he starts doing his own reg D on the side, or at some point I guess the lawyers of this world step in and say, no, 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 this is your
Mm,
Texas Rangers contract. You're done with this fundraising over on the side, or does it go?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have no thought in this at all. I'm just talking out loud right now as I think about this. But how do you think that would work?
Yeah, let me kind of
Yeah.
let me lay out the process, right? So let's
Mhm.
just play a hypothetical. This
Yeah.
is just
Hypothetical here.
hypotheticals.
Disclaimer.
Scott,
Hypothetical.
okay,
Disclaimer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's say we
Yeah.
sign a player, right? Let's say
Right.
Jeff, we're going to sign you, okay? And we offer you a $500,000 for 10%, same
Hmm.
deal we've
Hmm.
given our athlete. And then you go through the minor league system, and then you get
Yeah.
called up to the big leagues, right? Well, the investors in you are still holding. They're
Right.
in on your contract. Nothing changes with that. There's no dilution. There's no anything. Those are the shares that are associated with your contract. And with our contract, it vests really when you make it to the
Mm.
majors, and then we're getting 10% pre-tax of every dollar you make in the big leagues. Well, your first year you're going to make
Yeah.
$750,000. That's the first year salary for, and then you'll hit your second year. I believe it's like $800,000, and then your third year you're at 825, and then you're arbitration eligible. And then so we're getting 10% of every one of these years that you're what you're earning. But then when you hit arbitration, you can make, Juan Soto made $30 million in arbitration this year. It can be anywhere from minimum to 30 million, as high as you can prove that you're worth. And then you get to free agency, and then you could sign a deal like, I mean, name like Fernando Tatis,
Right.
$341 million if you're a really good player for 10 years. Then we're getting 10% of that. And all of that is being paid via dividend to the shareholders of that
Wow.
future earning
Right.
contract. The way it's set up today, okay, the owners are holding the shares. They're kind of holding throughout the process. Our vision and where we want to take this company is being able to build an ATS, an alternative
Yep.
trading system, which is your secondary marketplace where, if I had shares in you, Jeff, and you signed a $341 million contract, I could see that the share value of what I am going to get over a $500 investment might be
Hmm.
$28,000. And I may be able to then, which is what we're hoping, is be able to go to our marketplace, say, hey, I'm willing to sell these shares at the going rate, say it's
Right.
$22,000. Then somebody who's just an investor could buy that, knowing that they're going to get,
Hmm.
that interest, the difference over the life of the contract for the, as an
Yeah.
extra dividend, extra payment. So yeah,
That's wild. 2024 is the year of the secondary market for everybody. Republic just rolled out their start engine. I'm sure WeFunder's going to try. They're going to get in there.
yeah,
Everybody wants that secondary market, but no, it makes total sense as you're watching. Probably both ways. You might be gambling on a player. They go, I don't know. I don't think he is going to go much further, right? I'm assuming, like, can I get rid of these shares at some point? I'm sure it can go both ways.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Because as we mature,
right,
we'll have more
right,
athletes at the higher ranks, and that's when things get
yeah,
super
yeah.
interesting.
Um, So would you just are you a portal platform? Are both? Are you a marketplace? How do you kind of describe then Finlet? How do you describe it?
Yeah, so we describe Finlete as a
Mhm.
platform right now, and I think we're going to grow up. We're
Yeah.
going to become a marketplace.
Yeah. Okay. No, it makes sense.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's
Very,
the
very
game
cool.
plan.
So kind of what's your background? How did you get to here where you're working on this? Where's your starting point?
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been doing startups for
Okay.
over 10 years. I've been fortunate enough to have two exits from
Nice.
companies I bootstrapped and started. And then when we started Meetle, we were able to get investors to come involved, and Comcast, NBC, and some really
Hmm.
great investors that helped us with that. And then when we pivoted, we like I said, we didn't shut Meetle down. We actually brought all the investors in on Finlete, and then told them, hey, we have this better idea. Will you
Yeah.
support us in this pivot? And we had to do a lot of explaining and like explain like the market, like all
Right.
these learnings we found. And fortunately, every one of our investors were like,
Cool.
we believe in you. Like, this is awesome. Like, go for it. We're in. So we are able to do that, raise even more capital on this new idea of Finlete. And then it all came into fruition,
That's
two
cool.
and a half weeks
And
ago.
and what is your sort of background? Is it CEO esque, leading teams, building teams, developing, coding? Like, what's kind of your skill sets for the company?
I, I'm
Okay.
really a biz dev. sales and operations person. That's really my strength. Before, I was in the startup world. I was working for a tech company that was heavily into
Okay.
SMS marketing. Before, like, all the CTIA and all these other government agencies regulated it.
Yeah.
It was just the Wild West, and we were working on different programs with Vodafone and other big corporate companies and Air New Zealand, and we were helping them with
Yeah.
SMS
And were you an
notifications.
athlete? Did you? Yeah. Yeah. No.
Real
Totally
exciting.
exciting. Yeah. Yeah. But no. Were you an athlete? Did you play ball at all, or did you? How did you kind of? Are you just a fan and got into it? But why the love of athletes and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So I was really into wrestling in high school. That was my sport. I regret not playing football because I was so fast, but my parents would never let me, and they were like, "You are not playing football." So it was a bummer, but yeah, that was my biggest regret. But yeah, so I was really into sports. I mean, I've always been a huge San Diego Padres fan, and Chargers
Yeah.
fan where they're in San Diego, and I love Notre Dame football, and I was just really passionate sports fan. And it's always been kind of my calling card with my enjoyment and what I
Yeah.
enjoy doing on my pastime
Yeah.
outside of my
That's cool.
family
That's
and
cool.
kids.
So what's like the thing right now that
Yeah,
kind of keeps you up at night? What's the biggest pain point? What are you like, all right, we gotta really focus down on this right now?
yeah, we're really trying to learn what our
Mm.
who our
Mhm.
customers are, right? Like we're trying to figure out who's willing to do this. And so initially we thought, oh, easy, sports fans will totally get this. Let's blast this out in these ad spends on that. And that's been pretty good. Like we've done well on that. But what's really been surprising is how many the actual
Mm.
interest from investors, like
Yeah.
alternative investors or stock investors, when they understand it and they see the data and they do their own due diligence, they go, wow, this is actually pretty interesting. And then they see our prospect who, we're sharing like these links, like he was just ranked the number one MLB prospect in the ACL Arizona Complex League last year, according to Major League Baseball. So, you know, seeing the due diligence, the data backing up why we chose this
Mm.
athlete, it's really been helping us with converting those investor customers. But to answer your question,
Yeah.
learning who our customers are.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I was just thinking to myself, to some degree, minor league baseball plays into this whole concept better than, let's say, maybe at this point, than NFL, right? Or college football to NFL, because there's so much TV time, airtime, that a guy could basically maybe catch fire, right? And just be the talk of the town.
Yeah.
And it almost like a pump, like Elon Musk tweeting about it, right? Like, oh my God, this is the guy. He's on ESPN every waking minute, and then he just disappears, right? Where in this world, because of minor league
Yeah.
baseball taking such a long time, and it's right. I mean, most people say it's the hardest sport to kind of like get up
Yeah.
to the majors, to hit a baseball.
Hmm.
But there's time for you to kind of grow and watch your stock, right? Actually mature, grow. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
talking points. I mean, you're mentioning
Yeah.
Arizona League over here, and then there's this pickle league over here in the Dominican, whatever it might be, right? There's all of these different smaller leagues, but it allows it to fuel the
Yeah.
story and the narrative, I think, more than, yeah, he had a great bowl game, and he got a bunch of NIL money,
Yeah.
but now he's here. It feels like
Yeah.
that in an equity crowdfunding space might be too like up and down, as opposed to like, no, no, no. It's almost like, I mean, this player is a startup growing, right? Like he's
Yeah.
growing and growing and growing. So it's
Yeah.
it's, it's interesting how much this sport, maybe
Yeah.
hockey might play the same role.
Think about this. Think about this, Jeff.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. We've been contemplating. We
Okay.
actually had a couple of meetings about this. Horse racing,
Yeah.
not the horse. Let's invest in the
Totally.
jockey. And then every horse that jockey rides, he's getting paid out on. How fun would that be to
Yeah.
be able to say, like, go to the races and just know that whatever jockey, Diego Herrera, from Del Mar is riding on, you're getting a piece of. I think it's so
Yeah.
interesting, and
It
I think
it
it'd be a
really is,
hit
and
as well.
it really is. I mean, it's like fantasy football or fantasy baseball on absolute steroids of like, to some degree, right? It's just like, oh my gosh, like, no, 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 this is like,
You stole my line, Jeff. That's my
sorry, these
that's
things
my
are just
line.
happening
I
right
tell
now. I
everyone,
mean,
I'm
I
like,
did a little bit of
fantasy
research.
sports it's the worst
Yeah.
analogy ever,
No, I
but
was just like, as
yeah,
I'm talking to you, I'm like, man, this
yeah,
is like, this is wild, because it's just, there's so much. Well, again, I'll,
yeah,
I'll say this as somebody who works with a lot of deals. I don't have anything to talk about half the time, right? In the startup world, right? Or if I got a medical product, it's like, dude, what
Yeah.
do you want me to talk about, right? It's like I got a cancer drug. There's
Yeah.
nothing to talk about
Yeah.
for years and years and years. And yes, the
Yeah.
ceiling is really high and it could be worth billions, but there's nothing that like there's it
Yeah.
doesn't play well into social media. It doesn't play well into marketing. This there's an audience always built in, all this stuff.
Jeff, our prospect is
Right.
playing
Yep.
tomorrow, the first spring training game, and we have
Yep.
a watch party. We have all of our, all of my friends and family and people that are participating. We're all meeting down at the local pub. We're going to put the game on TV, and all these people in the bar are going to be like, "Why are these guys
Yeah,
cheering
yeah, yeah,
so
right.
loud for this spring
Right.
training game?" Right? If he hits a home run, I mean, we're
Yeah.
popping bottles. We're going to be celebrating, and that's something that's so cool about this. And like another great example, Jeff, is like I'm the biggest Padre
Mhm.
fan you're ever going to meet. I'm going to wake up next week at 3 in the morning to watch them play their first game in South Korea. All my close friends were
Yeah.
all diehard Padre fans. But if we sign a prospect for the Dodgers and we have shares, in that athlete, and the Dodgers are playing the Padres, I'm rooting
Yeah.
for my prospect over my diehard
Yeah.
favorite team. And when you start looking at those type of things, you realize that we may be onto something really exciting here. We feel it, we see it. We talk to people that are signing up. They're like, we can't believe this is possible. This is so cool. It's validating a lot of what we've been working on for the
Well,
past 2 years.
at some point, it seems like let's think about there's a whole thing now called red zone specifically for fantasy football. So, that is just showing your player scoring the touchdown, right? And we're now
Yeah.
that's being pumped into bars. So you got to imagine again, this thing being mature or this where this path is going, even if it's on this sort of of trajectory. Yeah,
Mhm.
you know what? I'm looking for my player wherever he is because man, I need him to have
Yeah.
a good day.
Yeah.
I need that stock to rise, right? I need a good month.
Yeah.
I need to know if he's on a cold streak, right? Man,
Yeah.
he lost. He can't hit the curve.
Yeah.
Major league, he can't hit the curve anymore. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
you know,
I know. I know it. Or like he's coming up on
yeah,
free agency, right? This is a free agency year. What is he going to sign
yeah,
for? Is he going to get a big contract, small? How's his year looking? Is he going to get hurt? There's so many variables that are just going to be the most
mhm.
interesting aspect of our company. I
Yeah. It's exciting.
can't wait.
Who's the God, what's the big agent that signs everybody in baseball? Yeah, Scott Boris.
Scott
Like
Boris.
my guy said with Scott Boris. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like he got to Scott Boris.
yeah,
Holy cow! Let's
yeah.
do this. Yeah.
He's in hot
Oh
water
man, I
right
don't
now.
even.
He's in
I'm
trouble
not.
right now.
See, I'm
But
not.
it's kind of
See,
funny you brought him
I would
up.
pay attention more. Like I'm just like Scott Boris, is that him? But no, you start to pay attention
Yeah,
a lot more if you were, had some money on the line.
yeah. Just on that topic, he's got like 3 of the 5 top prospects right now, and no teams are signing them because there's a talk that maybe these MLB teams are boycotting Scott Boras clients. So they got like Blake Snell. Week starts in a couple weeks. He's the best pitcher, won the Cy Young last year, and
Yeah,
he's not even on a
yeah, yeah,
team right
yeah.
now. Off
That's
topic,
that's
but
wild.
that's just a little
That's
bit of
wild.
baseball talk for
So let's walk back a little bit. Just like how have you approached,
Okay.
building your team, putting people under you, just kind of
Yeah.
getting finding weaknesses and strengths. Again, a lot of our listeners are startup founders who are trying to grow their
Yeah.
widget, right? So how are you kind of approaching team members and
Yeah.
finding quality and
Yeah.
having people get behind your mission?
Yeah. So we hire only the best of the best. And it's easy to say that, but
Mm.
let me give you a great example. So when we started, I knew that we were going to need help on the contract side because we wanted to make sure that, our contract would hold up. So what did we do? I hired the CFO from that company, that private hedge fund that does these deals. So we hired a person who's probably done over 100 of these, private
Yeah.
equity deals with athletes. Now we have him on our team. So then I said, okay, we're going to need to have a security attorney. Like, who's the best? Like, who's done things similar to this? So we looked at
Hmm.
Masterworks, who's in a very similar space as us. Instead of doing athletes,
Yep.
they're investing in art. So I looked at their
Yep.
lawyer, Laura Anthony. She's a top security lawyer in the country.
Hmm.
Hired her. And then I wanted to build out my team, and I found Max Eisenberg, who's our chief information officer, built a very successful company called Action Streamer. So he's our chief of staff on our team, and then Comcast and all of our investors, Tim Draper through the Draper Startup House, they all work with us and connect with people that could be beneficial to us, and that's it's been just relying on everybody around us to hire the best possible people for
Yeah,
the most
yeah.
important
No,
roles.
it's super, super critical, when you're kind of putting this foundation
Yeah,
structure together to just get people that understand it, are gonna be bought in. Um, you know,
yeah.
where are the things though that you think that, hey, if we're gonna grow here, what are like milestones that you want to hit? Like, what's a metric in your mind that, like, hey, if we hit this, this triggers kind of the next thing for us?
Yeah. So we want to sell out Echedry Vargas, our prospect,
Okay.
by July 1st.
Mhm.
Like complete sold out. And then have our next player in the queue, and then that will set us up for our first, our next round, which would be our seed round, which would then allow us to really expand heavily and really,
Mm.
put gas on the fire. So selling out, Echedry Vargas, by July 1st
Gotcha.
is our
Yeah,
goal.
yeah. It does seem like it could really snowball once you get that first one under the, and then maybe a second, and then you start to really see this kind of coming together.
Yeah.
How do you kind of think about in sort of an investor community in this? Do you see, the more that you're building up investors who are looking for certain athletes, or do you see it being somewhat in different verticals of like sports, like these are basketball investors, or do you think it'll just be, hey, they're looking for athletes, or they're just into this type of idea? What do you kind of envision that community looking like?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
learning right now. It's I believe it's going to start with sophisticated investors that may play in the
Hmm.
alternative space, and then as that starts to grow, I think it's going to become more heavily focused
Yeah.
with sports fans. I think once we're like in this weird educational period where a majority of your listeners watching this podcast probably never even knew that these athletes were signing these deals,
Yeah.
for their future earnings, right? So letting people know that these deals are happening
Hmm.
like all the time, and that this is how they work, and they hold up in court and look at these court cases that these were challenged, and every single time these contracts have been held up, and giving them confidence that there is a potential for a return. I think that's when we'll really see a lot of
Yeah.
sports fans getting
Yeah.
involved.
No, I agree with you. I think it's funny, even on the education, as much as I dove in preparing for this, I didn't know this hedge fund component. I honestly was just kind of like, this is interesting and weird. I had like, where did this come from? I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, I never thought about it. So I do see the more that you're talking about this that lift of
Yeah.
education. Because I think once you get into it, it's it's probably a slope. It's like a lot of work to educate, but once then they just get it, right? Probably like how I feel like, especially if you've got
Yeah.
some knowledge of sports, some knowledge of contracts, some knowledge of, you just had ESPN on your ticker your whole life, and you're like, X person signs for
Mhm.
a free agency that just happened in NFL. Every contract, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
How much has
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins made? Oh my
Oh
gosh, how
my
much more
gosh.
money can this guy make? And not
Yeah.
win really anything. So,
Yeah.
but just like you, so you just, I guess it's just
Yeah.
like you have that. You're gonna probably benefit a little bit around having that. People just know that there's big contracts, in this sports, right? They just know that. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so talk to a little bit about maybe what's the next year look like. How does this year play out, and then maybe what's your next 5 years you think playing out?
Yeah, and this year, we plan on having 5 athletes
Cool.
on our platform. That's our big goal. I want 5 really good, top tier, exciting prospects on Finlete. We want to finish our, like I said, that seed round that we're going to raise in July. We want to have that fully funded, and then immediately start working on the
Yeah.
alternative trading system while bringing on more athletes. The 5 year plan, we want to have over 200 athletes on our platform, if not more. And then we want to have over 3 million fan investors on our platform, actively looking at deals and deciding on if they want to participate on specific deals with a NASCAR driver or a jockey or a baseball player or a hockey player or a rugby player or a sailing team in New Zealand. Having all these different opportunities available, we
Yeah,
think
that's
is
awesome.
really exciting.
Where can people kind of learn more? How do they dive into your world? Obviously, we'll put some links on here, but where can people just figure
Yeah,
out what you guys are
yeah.
doing?
Yeah, so Finlete.com is really the spot. And that's our homepage. And we are showcasing our current offering on there, which everybody on here can check out. It's super low level of entry. You don't have to you don't have to
Mhm.
be an accredited investor, and you can check it out and look at our prospect and do some due diligence and you know keep
Awesome.
track of us
Awesome.
there.
Well,
Yeah,
Rob, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. This has been, like I said, one of the most exciting things I've actually experienced in Reg CF in my last 8, 9, 10 years of doing this. I will definitely be
yeah,
monitoring this and watching from afar because I think it's huge, huge potential. And again, I appreciate you taking time out of your day.
yeah. Great. Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it.